it's just not one thing. And the example we used of at the start of people looking at only things in isolation. So this is the system that I use, and I'm repeating it throughout my time trial. And if I was doing a swim in a triathlon, I'd be doing the same thing. If I was on the bike, if I was running, I'm doing different topics, obviously, for different sports. But on the bike we're talking about today, what are the things that are going to make me go faster is repeating these key concepts in my head over and over as I'm riding. I'm not thinking about, who's on the side watching me. I'm not thinking about, the wind that much. I'm not thinking about how hot it is. I'm not thinking about how far to go. I'm just reminding myself, what is my power number? What is my cadence? What is my heart rate? What is my average speed? And there, the final thing is, what's my position?
Yeah. So
5 things that are happening in my head over and over. And the minute I've stopped thinking about my power, because I'm thinking I'm up to the 5th one, my position, I'm back to power. And that might have taken 10 seconds to go through that. So I'm just referring to that the whole time. And once I've got on top of that and I've got the rhythm of the race, because time trialing is an individual sport, you are just focusing on what you're doing. It's not a tactical thing. Well, it is tactical with the strategy that you have, but you're not relying on other people around you. It's just you against the clock. So this is what we're talking about here. And if I've got those things under control, then I can start to race, which is what we started with. Have these concepts as your main focus. And then once I've got my rhythm going, I'm into my race halfway through. I'm happy with my cadence. I'm feeling strong in the legs. My heart rate's under control. My position's beautiful. My power number's exactly where it should be. The cadence is, I've got a rise coming. I'm not going to grind up this hill. I'm going to change gears, make sure I keep the cadence in the 88, 90, 92 for me. On the climb, the hill will keep the power up for me, so I've just got to not grind up here and not be at 75 or 70. And then over the top of the hill, I've then got to change gears again, so on the downhill I can get into the biggest gear possible so that I'm not spinning, which is going to stimulate my heart rate. I don't want that to happen. So these are the things, and then I can start to say, right, who's ahead of me? How far away are they? Can I catch them?
Yeah.
So I'm doing all these things to get me to understand the data and then race.
I was going to say before, the wind is probably a bad example before, because you will pay attention to the wind, but secondary to these 5 things, you'll be asking these 5 things constantly, and then the external factors like the hill coming up, uphill, downhill, the terrain, the wind, that comes after, when all these things are just constantly under control.
That's right. And look, definitely the terrain and the wind as a time trialist is so key, because if you're into a headwind, you need to be riding fractionally above threshold. If you're in a tailwind, it's okay to be under threshold, because basically you can't ride 70 k's an hour to keep the pressure of the power on the pedals. So
that's a really big point. So when we teach power to athletes, it's quite overwhelming and confusing at first, and it takes people a while to get used to focusing on power. And so we can't ask athletes to just focus on all of this at once, because it's just not going to be possible. But there has to be a point where you get used to power and then refocus on all these things, because if you don't, you're going to be riding uphill, downhill, into wind, into tailwind, trying to just hold that one power number, and it's not going to be happening for you. You're going to actually ride quite horribly.
Yeah, there's so much more details that we haven't gone into with how to ride power, but we're talking about today how to get faster. So at the end of the day, the things you just spoke about, what should my power be on the uphill into a headwind? What should it be on downhill? What should it be on the flat tailwind? They're all things, and cadence changes according to the terrain. They're all things that are next level, and the athletes that we have, they all know that.
I guess it summarizes this last point is that if you want to go faster, it is about power, but it is about power in conjunction with all these things you're saying. It's about power in conjunction to what's your heart rate doing, power in conjunction to your cadence, power in conjunction to your average speed, and you've got to be looking at all those things to make sure that the end result is a higher average speed.
So if all those things are aligned, you will do a PB. If you've got the right power, the right position, the right cadence, the right heart rate, the average speed is the result of that, and your average speed will go up.